Hey, I'm Livewire Charlie.
And I'm Dangerous.
And we are Live Danger.
And you're watching
PJ
and DG Talk Wrestling.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. BJ here. DG over there.
What's going on, everybody? How y'all doing today?
Chef in the house.
What's cooking? Let's fire it up.
Let's go. A lot of wrestling this week.
Yeah, before we get into that, I'm just going to start off with a trivia question. And, we'll repeat it again periodically throughout the show, but to kind of skip ahead, last night, Goldberg lost by submission to Gunther.
Yay! Woohoo!
Yes, we are all happy about it. That we'll already give that the uppercase.
Yes, that's the uppercase with a lot of O's. Woo!
Yes, that doesn't get a woo.
Woo.
But anyway, trivia question that we will go back to throughout and answer at the end is, besides Gunther, who is the only other person to ever beat Goldberg by submission?
Yeah, so you got to think, what era would that have been? Was it WWE? Was it WCW? Who could have been? There's several people it could have been, actually, when you think about it. So we've got time to think. We'll be pondering ourselves. Yeah.
But yeah, guys, lots of good wrestling this week. One show that has now become the longest single pay-per-view in pro wrestling history with AEW All-In. I'm surprised it's taking them that long.
Which company did that.
I was about to say, I'm surprised it took them this long to beat WrestleMania 35. This was a long time coming for them. I hope they're happy with their record.
Yeah. Well, hey, it's one thing they have.
But wow, what a show they did put on last night.
Yeah. So, unfortunately, I was at work at 3 o'clock when it started, but I was home well before it finished, but I still didn't have the opportunity to buy into the pay-per-view at that point because it was way too late to get started. And I would have been up way, through the wee hours of the night. And I already did that once this week, and I'm an old man now. I'm 50, so...
But yeah, guys, a little bit of other news as well to bring people up to speed. Tommy Grayson had successful surgery this week. So he is now on the recovery. And just like last week, this week, I will have scrolling at the bottom the link for the merch. Because any merch purchase goes to help him out in his time of healing and everything. Mm-hmm. So, as always, we hope you have a quick recovery and can get back to the ring doing what you love to do.
Best wishes, Tommy.
Get well soon.
Let's see. What else do we have here? I have this picture of Dragon Ball Z style, me and my pups.
Yeah, she looks a lot tougher there than she actually is, though. She's a little sweetheart.
Gotta put the puppy over.
Yeah.
But now, let's get into some wrestling. Where would you guys like to start? Pick a show and let's get there.
Well, you guys watched everything yesterday, so I'll have to defer to y'all, because we all know that...
I didn't watch anything. I didn't watch AEW.
Okay, so you know what? Let's start with AEW and move on to what everyone did watch. So get AEW over, done with, and move on from there.
AEW, that entire show was a really good show. It did it. As always, I'll have my complaint about match length because some of the matches could have been shorter. But overall, it was a great show. Overall, it was a great show beginning to end. It wasn't, and I'm going to be honest, with that and Great American Bash on, how much I tried to shift my attention, All In got more of my attention just because I know it's their WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And the matches were all top tier. I believe on my notes, I'm missing one of the matches from the buy-in, but the Sons of Texas, which is Dustin Rhodes, who we will be talking more about later, and Sammy Guevara with the Von Erichs defeated Shane Taylor Promotions in an 8-man tag.
Okay.
And then the Collaboration and Big AJ defeated the Callis family. from what I have.
All right, so yeah, they're bringing viewers in and they're getting wins. So yeah, there you go for AJ. So,
Yeah,
good
and
for
then
him. Still getting some money out of Tony Khan. Bringing viewers back in return.
on to the main show, which they kicked off with the Trios Championship. The Ops versus the Death Riders, the three members of Claudio, Wheeler Yuta, and Gabe Kidd. Which that was a
We
that was a
actually did
good
not have
match.
picks on this one.
It didn't. I don't think it got added. I think it got added after we
Aha,
did.
that would explain why we didn't make picks.
Um, um, but the Ops retained in a very competitive match. The match went all over the place.
Okay, yeah, I can see that happening. You know, the
After
Ops, the
the
hard
real,
hitting team.
the big story for that was after the match, though. The Death Riders took out Samoa Joe. They put a chair around his neck and did some damage there. So it looks like Joe might not be around for a bit.
Okay,
I mean, it actually doesn't surprise me because we do have Twisted Metal 2 coming out on Peacock at the end of the month.
Gotta go do
Yeah.
promotion for that.
Makes sense.
But yeah, so that really did set the tone for the show going forward.
Yep.
And then after that, we got the men's casino gauntlet match. Which, boy, this was another match that was all over the place. A lot of moving parts with these matches, especially in like a Royal Rumble style atmosphere. But the only way to win is to be the first one to gain a pinfall or submission.
Okay, you guys both picked Darby Allin to not only return but to win this match. So my first question: did Darby return?
Yes. Not in
Yes,
this
Yeah,
match.
but not in this match though. MJF ended up, as we kind of fully figured in the long run.
MJF won it.
Yes,
All right.
MJF.
My pick
pulled it out.
comes in.
I mean,
All right.
we all kind of figured MJF
Yeah.
was the front runner to win, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
But with
Aligning himself
regardless
with the
of
Hurt
that,
Syndicate,
regardless of the main event, we figure either way, Darby Allin would have been a tough opponent for Page or Mox.
Okay.
But I don't think Darby Allin goes into the world title picture. We'll talk more about that later.
Okay.
But yeah, we also had the return of Juice Robinson.
Oh,
Clean
nice.
shave.
Okay.
Juice
How long has it been
Robinson.
since we've seen that?
I don't think I've ever seen him clean shaved.
Okay. Well, all right. How'd he look?
Looked weird.
He has been clean shaven in New Japan, I'm pretty sure.
But I'm just pretty sure at that point I didn't really pay that much attention to him.
Didn't he also have a different name at that point? Probably.
No, he was still Juice Robinson.
Okay.
And then before the next match, we have which had been announced during the pre-show that Adam Cole, now instead of doing an interim championship, was vacating the TNT championship due to circumstances that he's just not releasing. But it was serious enough that they didn't find out till right before the show actually was going live.
Right.
Because they had him penciled in to still compete as of the night before everybody went to sleep. So best of wishes to Adam Cole with whatever's going on with him. He came out, cut a very heartfelt promo, telling fans he's probably not going to be around for a long time. And he kind of hinted at retirement, but what he said, he wasn't making that call yet. So I really hope that we get to see him back at some point. And it's especially a shame because especially since he left WWE, right? Every time he's had the momentum built up. Because I've said that I've just said they've been putting his matches in bad spots. Not that they haven't been good matches and they haven't done something. Right. It's just they put it as a calm down match, which you kind of shouldn't do for Adam Cole. Adam Cole should be the one bringing energy.
Right.
So in place of what would have been the one-on-one match, it now became a fatal four-way with Dustin Rhodes, Sammy Guevara, Daniel Garcia, and Kyle Fletcher.
So,
And Sammy and Dustin had competed during the buy-in. So
Yep.
they were already one match in to this
Yep.
happening.
On paper, the last person I would have picked is probably Dustin.
Yeah, and lo
Right?
and behold, your
Yeah,
winner and new TNT champion, the natural
I was able to check out some of
Dustin
the media
Rhodes.
scrum afterwards, and he was there starting the whole thing off. I was like, huh, okay, good on you, Dustin. About damn time he got some recognition somewhere.
Yeah, you know, and as BJ said, he's not somebody I would have picked. Look, I would have been okay not picking him and seeing him win.
Yep.
And I mean, also just real quick on top of that, he also this past week also signed a long-term deal with AEW.
All right, good for him. Make that money,
So
sir.
you know, yeah. After that, we got Swerve and Ospreay versus the Young Bucks. Stipulation being if the Bucks lose, they're no longer EVPs. And
Yep.
if Swerve and Ospreay lose, they can't challenge for the World Championship for a whole year. And this match was what I expected it to be.
Yes, it certainly was, because you picked Swerve and Ospreay to win, as did BJ. I myself, however, picked the Young Bucks, and whoopsie. EVP lost on the EVPs.
But let me the finish of that match. Out of everything that happened in that match, like double Canadian destroyers or whatever, and all these very well thought out tag team moments in this match.
Mm-hmm.
It was the finish with them doing like EVP trigger style move. I think it was Matt Jackson on his knees in the middle of the ring, and you had them setting up Swerve hitting the drive-by and Ospreay hitting the hidden blade simultaneously to secure the win.
Yep.
Oh man, dude, that popped me.
Nice.
Like,
Very good. Congratulations, Swerve and Ospreay. It's a new era in AEW now. So who is the do Paige and Kenny get their EVP positions back that they had at the
I guess
start?
we'll have to. I mean, I don't
Tune in on
think
Wednesday to
one
find
of
out?
no. Paige is still an EVP. Penny was the
Okay.
one I believe fired.
Yes, he was fired. He was fired from the Elite. Was he fired as an EVP though? Because he did come back with some EVP power when he did return.
Are we really trying to break down AEW story that far?
We are actually, because we're talking about it. So why
You
not?
know,
We're living here.
I mean, to pull the curtain
we do have a
back
hard out
little,
tonight with Evolution too.
To
But
pull the curtain back real quick, though, they're still EVP. So
well, this is all kayfabe anyway. So fourth wall.
What about the fifth wall?
Dude, that's a Tesseract.
Whoa. Not trying to mess with no Infinity Stones, man. And then after that, we had the Women's Casino Gauntlet.
All right.
Which
I just want to recap our picks before we get to this. DG, you had Rosa, BJ, you had Megan Bain, and I myself had Chris Statlander.
None of us picked correctly.
Okay.
And I'm okay with that. So, just to put in the comparison real quick, the men's gauntlet match had a total of 14 entries.
Okay.
Which I guess I'll run down real quick. Mark Briscoe, MJF, Ricochet, Takeshita, Mystico, Josh Alexander, Anthony Bowens, Roderick Strong, Brody King, Juice Robinson, Kota Ibushi, The Beast Mortos, and Max Caster.
Okay.
The women's match had 12.
Let me guess who got pinned. I don't know who got pinned. I'm going to guess it was the best wrestler alive, Max Caster, who got pinned.
No, it wasn't him, but the match ended less than a minute after he came out.
That sounds accurate.
Max is here. You know what? Let's wrap it up, guys.
Yep.
Max is out. Max is here. It's time to take it home. So
There's no way he could not have been
It-
the last entrant.
So the order in order of entrance for the women's casino gauntlet:
Okay.
Chris Statlander, Megan Bain,
Okay.
which we knew were number 1 and 2, Willow
Mhm.
Nightingale, Tay Mello, Tekla, Julia Hart, Queen Aminata, Mina Shirakawa, Athena, Thunder Rosa, the debuting Suri from Stardom.
Okay.
And Alex Windsor made her return. She got injured in a match months ago when she first signed. She had a match with Toni Storm as well at one
And
point.
she got injured like in her first match or something.
Right,
and-
first or second match or something like that.
So,
yeah.
and promptly got forgotten about until now she's back. It's basically a re-debut for everybody.
Kinda. The
Hey,
match was.
watching these 2 weeks. This is a new person.
Yeah.
I mean, they showed vignettes and a couple promo videos for her in the last couple weeks. They
Okay.
did for both of the last 2 ladies because it was a debut and return. So we had already kind of seen stuff for them. Oh, did you have a spill there?
Yeah, a little bit.
It wouldn't be a stream without that.
There we go. The BJ spill of the day.
Hey, DG, why don't you go ahead and handle the trolls?
Whoa.
Yeah.
You know why?
Don't need that.
Why? I'm not going to bring the comment up, but just why? I'm just going to delete that comment. I'll be
Yep,
just
thank you.
delete the comment, but we'll see where things go.
Mm-hmm.
That's just not appropriate.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Not what we're
I mean, it's
about.
barely appropriate to be a Pete Diddy fan now, but And that was the wife popping in the background, having no clue of the conversation. Just that one line.
No need to even reference it anymore.
Now, I don't even know what we're talking about.
Nope. We're talking about AEW All-In last
All
night.
right, so in the end, your winner, the woman who has held the Ring of Honor Championship for over 1,000 days and is the longest reigning champion for any championship in Ring of Honor history, Athena, wins.
All right.
I,
for her.
I'm okay to be wrong in the situation because
Yeah.
I was a huge fan of her as Ember Moon. I'm still a huge fan of her now. And to see her and possibly Toni Storm go at it, and we know these contracts are like Money in the Bank cash in.
Yep. Yeah, she can
So-
cash in, call her shot, and she seems like the type to call her shot. So this
Nobody
definitely
in their
still-
right mind should ever call their shot unless their name's Rob Van Dam.
But I mean, this is Athena. I feel like
who's
she's the
the-
type who would call her shot.
No. I mean, if I've watched a lot of her Ring of Honor stuff with what she's done,
Mm-hmm.
she might say it's coming, but she won't tell you when.
Okay.
She'll because she's a heel right now, and
Okay.
and
I was
anyway,
aware of
heel or
that.
face, you're stupid to call your shot. Ask
Well,
John Cena about calling your shot, how that works out.
Well, I mean, you also do have Austin Theory not calling his shot and missing out on the U.S. title.
I mean, Damian Sandow.
Yeah, that too.
The only person not to lose a Money in the Bank cash in the WWE are the females.
Yeah.
They are batting 1,000 currently until Naomi possibly fails.
And we'll see what happens. Still time.
I said possibly because we don't know.
Yep.
We've talked about what I assume is going to happen.
Yes.
But anyway, back to AEW.
Yeah. So what happened
Because,
after this
that's what we're
women's
talking
casino
about.
gauntlet?
AEW.
Yeah.
So after that was the triple threat match for the tag team championships with the Hurt Syndicate, the Patriarchy, and Jet Speed. This was a fun
I
match.
picked Jet Speed just because I'm sure I was going to lose.
I
but
don't even remember.
yeah.
Who did I? Did I pick Hurt Syndicate?
You did. You both picked her Syndicate.
Well, they retained, but that's not the story with this match.
Okay. What is the story, Morgan Glory?
So, FTR was announced during, I believe, the buy-in to be on commentary. during the match. So FTR's on commentary, which, by the way, those guys did a great job on commentary. Very entertaining during the match.
Cool.
And so there's a moment before the match ends with a couple of the teams right in front of them, guys fighting, them kind of getting into it. And then the match, they get to the finish. Her Syndicate pins, I believe, Christian to retain.
Okay.
So now
that'll lead to some fun storyline within the patriarchy there.
So we now get to a point where the ring's kind of cleared a little bit. Nick Wayne's getting in FTR's face. Christian finally gets up and he's trying to pull Nick Wayne back and Kip Sabian back.
Okay.
So he gets to back and he's like, "Come on, guys, let's go." As Christian's getting out of the ring, Nick Wayne grabs him, hits him with the unprettier, and Mama Wayne and Kip Sabian have turned on Christian.
And
we get a nice slap from Mama Wayne, but that's not even the story in this. With FTR and Stokely Hathaway just kind of laughing in shock about it, they helped Nick Wayne set up Christian for a concerto.
Ooh.
As Nick Wayne is holding up the chair, Adam Copeland Metalingus hits Adam Copeland, which I don't know what is up with these tag team guys from the Attitude Era, that they don't come running down making the save, that they have to do their
He dances his way down a la Jeff Hardy.
Well, no, he runs to one end of the stage doing his thing. He runs to the other, getting the fans amped up. And then he stands at the top of the ramp with kind of a
doing
mean
his little
look, holding Spike, and then he runs in.
What are they just in the ring like?
Yeah, everybody's like,
yeah,
like they're waiting for him to get that. Come on, man. So he hits the ring. He gets the ring cleared finally. He's got to swing the bat at a couple people.
All right.
So, and Christian finally starts coming to and sees him. He has a mic. And Christian's just in defense mode, like, "Nah, man. Nah, don't do it. Don't do it." Edge throws down Spike, helps Christian up, gets on the mic, and same initials of "go F yourself," but instead of, "go F yourself," he's like, "no," and just walks out of the ring. And the whole thing ends with Christian kneeling, holding Spike, trying to figure out what just happened, because Edge left it in the ring when he left.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, Cope.
Yeah, whatever.
But yeah, so it looks like... What the hell was that?
Sounded like a motorcycle. It's Undertaker coming up your steps.
But yeah, that was a fun moment. Like, it was nice to see him back.
Yep.
You know, now we're going to get to the storyline with FTR now.
Yep.
Maybe, hopefully, somewhere in the future, we get a 5-second pose for photography.
Just for old time's sake.
Yes. They can't do that run again and not do that. I'm sorry.
No.
Right.
For the benefit of those with flash photography.
It would just be beautiful. So now, after that, we are now moving on to our triple main event of the evening.
Mm-hmm. What a triple threat here we have. Not
and
triple threat match, but triple threat of matches, so to speak.
Well, the first match in this triple main event was Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné. Absolutely love both their entrances.
This is one where I've actually been able to see highlights of both of the match, and I did watch Tony's post-show media scrum, which was fantastic. If you haven't seen it yet, go find it.
Yeah, her media scrums are great. This match, and it's going to be surprising that I say this is a match of the week candidate for me.
Nice. A Mercedes Moné match with you calling it potential match of the week.
No,
that's saying something.
It was a really good... That match was very well put together. Like, they started off kind of slow, There were moments where they mimicked each other's styles.
Right.
Tony Storm gets Mercedes out of the ring and she starts doing the Mercedes dance. And then eventually comes back around. Mercedes gets her out of the ring and she starts doing the rolling around in the ring stuff like Tony Storm does.
Nice. Beautiful.
It was a good way of telling a story in the ring as well. Like, of everything we've seen leading up to it, it just fit. And job well. Like, for a long AEW pay-per-view, I'm going to be honest, there really wasn't a boring moment in the show as a whole.
So an entertaining 24 hours of wrestling for AEW during one pay-per-view.
I'm just saying, I did call it, though, that Saturday night main event would still be going.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
When...
Lacey making an appearance.
But we have Tony Storm retained. The undefeated streak of Mercedes Moné is over.
Well, you know, cheers to the winning streak, you know, and then now it's gone.
And she had a really cool like cape rope thing on. I don't know if you saw photos of it, of everybody she's beaten since her debut. Okay. I thought that was really cool as for part of her entrance.
That's
like
cool.
The match was, and I've been saying it recently that I feel like Mercedes has kind of almost gotten back to WWE form.
Yeah.
Compared to last year in her match with Britt Baker up to now.
Yeah, that match was sketchy.
And I mean sketchy for multiple reasons, but we also saw afterwards how many matches that were just garbage and just weren't good, despite who she was in the ring with.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, great. That was a great match, and I'm going to be honest, all of the three next matches are potential match of the weekend. The next match was the unification match for the Continental and International Championship to crown the new unified champion, which I'm very interested to see just with the championship where this goes, because I love the month and a half of the Continental Classic. Mm-hmm. So I hope at some point, maybe instead of it being for a championship or something, we still find a way to repackage that and keep it around. Maybe the winner gets the title shot at Evolution or Revolution.
Yep.
You know, Final Resolution. I don't know. There's something going on there.
One of
those are the three yeah. But yeah, and Okada and Kenny Omega. If you've ever seen any of their matches from New Japan,
there's a reason both of them have been called Best Bout Machine.
Yeah, Wrestle Kingdom, I think 10 or 11 it was.
I thought it was 12. Or was the rematch 12?
The rematch was 12, so it was probably 11. Two of the best matches I've ever seen in my life, and they're both about an hour long.
Yeah, they did. This match, I think, was about 45-ish minutes.
Okay.
And I had to take the puppy out for a walk and missed the first 15 minutes of it. And still didn't feel like I missed anything.
Well, you knew it wasn't going to end in 15 minutes with those two.
Right. There was no way. You were not missing the ending of the match.
No. But those guys went out and put on a hell of a show. Okada wins.
Yep. The Don Callis family holding the power still.
It's the first win for the Don Callis family. It was the first win for them throughout the entire show with anything that involved them.
Yeah, but
they lost to the conglomeration and Big AJ. Kyle Fletcher failed to win the TNT championship. Okada kept his and unified the championship.
I was going to say, not only that, he, got Kenny's belt, and then they were at the press conference. He had all three of the belts.
Which now is where
Kenny's
both
belt
these
and now the new belt.
Yep. Which this now will bring me to something I saw in an argument on Facebook throughout the week. And it was a thread that went like almost the entire week. And it was the idea of the comparisons of the current World Heavyweight Championship to the old World Heavyweight Championship. That was the lineage from WCW. These two belts are not the same World Heavyweight Championship. The current one held by Gunther is its own lineage. It doesn't have the connected lineage back to the one Triple H held or was awarded, right. The one that Goldberg won.
Right. That's the Universal title lineage now.
The Universal title lineage is fused to the WWE Championship.
Right.
Yeah, the World Heavyweight Championship, Gunther's title.
Right.
It
Okay.
is only what 2 years old now, going on.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
Seth Rollins initially won it.
That's
So,
what I'm
all
saying.
right,
It's
but let's
been
finish
what?
off AEW.
Yeah. And now the main event, and wow, what a main event this was. This was a bloodline style match, essentially. For the Texas Death Match for the AEW Championship, Adam Page and John Moxley. Now you just hear the words, the word death match, and then the name Moxley. You're like, all right, I know what I'm getting for this.
Oh yeah,
And then you
blood.
add
Lots
Page
of
to it. Oh yeah, that didn't take long for either of them.
Once the fork came out,
Yeah. The Red Cross was there just with bags just underneath of both guys.
We could use this blood. Man,
He froze.
But
no,
Oh,
see, I said vampires and the Raptors, and they tried to cancel me. You see what happens here?
well, that's
Exposing
because
the
the vampires
truth.
and the rafters don't want everybody to know about that.
there you go.
Well, Blade needs to show up and do something about it.
Daywalker.
But anyway, there were a lot. So there was barbed wire double table spot. There actually was table spots, I want to say, all around the ring. They brought out a bed of nails.
Ooh, fun.
We saw pretty much all the Death Riders interfere. We saw the Young Bucks interfere.
Okay.
We see Will Ospreay interfere. We get Darby Allin's return, which real
Okay,
quick.
so that's where he got back. Okay.
Hold on, just real quick. Even before he appears in the ring, randomly during the match, a video plays that he recorded on the top of Mount Everest.
Okay.
And it was still like 5
match.
minutes. Yeah, just during the match. Like it was that a moment
Odd
that
choice.
made sense. No, well, because I think that he was supposed to return during that video, and he didn't come down to like 5 minutes later. I don't know. It's AEW.
Yeah. Well, maybe they didn't want him to go full Owen.
Come on now.
Yeah, come on, man. But yeah, we have some great spots on the bed of nails. But we start getting to the finish now. The ring's kind of been cleared after Darby was there. The only people remaining at ringside really were the Young Bucks at that point, who really no longer have any power whatsoever.
Right.
And they go to the timekeeper's area, and Marina Shafir went to go grab the chain. Well, the chain was hooked to something and she couldn't get it off. And then Nana just stands up from behind there. And the next thing you know, we got Swerve coming down the ramp and with a chain wrapped around his hand, punches both the Jackson brothers, and then gives the chain to Adam Page.
Okay.
Who proceeds to hit Mox with it. I believe he hits the buckshot lariat, and Mox bumps onto the nails.
Ooh.
And then he wraps the chain. Hold on. And now this is why Adam Page is called the Hangman, because he proceeds to wrap the chain around Mox's neck, put him over the top rope and pull on and hang Mox until Moxley tapped out.
And Adam Page is your new champion.
Adam Page opens the brief, keeps his word. After a couple minutes, finally gets the briefcase open. And we finally see, after 240 some-odd days, that AEW actually still does have a world championship belt.
Nice. All right. So, yeah, DG and I made the right call. DJ, sorry, you picked Mox.
Yeah, no, it's just like with a situation like that, it's like, how long are they going to drag this out for? You know what I mean? So you expect them to just keep going with it. There were plenty of better times when they could have ended it, but they didn't trick on it, so it's just really weird that they did now.
I mean, you know what? Just like I've said before, I might not be a fan because of the story just because I didn't get a why. But let's just put it in perspective of the ratings started to kind of climb because it got to a point where people wanted to see Mox lose.
Hmm.
You know, so with that, and you're giving him credible opponents. You're not giving him crapshoot opponents that you know don't have a chance.
Right.
Swerve had everybody he's faced. He had a chance to lose that championship to. Oh, during the match,
Yeah.
we also get a Bryan Danielson appearance,
Oh,
and
really?
he hits Yuta with the flying knee.
All right. So, okay, cool.
I don't know if it's leading to anything to a return because he didn't really bump like he usually does for it.
Hmm.
So I don't
Just kind of
know.
showed up for shits and giggles.
Well, yeah. Well, let's just remember who did Mox beat and put a paper bag around that person's head. You know, it was Bryan Danielson he beat for that championship.
Yeah.
So you know, like a storyline, it makes sense because it's something to where it's connected. He was one of the first victims, so it connects to everything. And after what they did to him, it gives us hope that maybe he's going to come back at some point. But we know he's also fully retired, or not fully. He's retired from full time.
Right.
But yeah, overall, All In for being the longest wrestling pay-per-view ever, beating out WrestleMania 35. They really put on a great show. And what we'll talk about next with Great American Bash, I also enjoyed that show, but I'm going to have to go back to rewatch it in full.
Okay.
Because I kind of paid more attention to All In, but I did have both on, so.
As is tradition.
But yeah, overall, great shows. Now, real quick before we get to Great American Bash, the Enzo video promo from on TNA this week.
Yeah. Where's he going with this? What's happening here? Is he he's stepping through some sort of a door?
Yeah, like I'm very interested to see what happens with this because I've been wanting to see him back someplace that on a much bigger scale, and TNA would be a good place for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I mean, he was in what was it, MLW for a while?
Yeah, but and he was there when they were on TV for like that 6-month period.
Right.
Yeah.
But did something happen right at the beginning of that curbed all that?
Yeah. But yeah, it'd be good to see him back in action in a larger scale. Yeah. Would have been cool to see him go to AEW though, you know, reunite with Big Bill on more than just the Jericho cruise.
You know what though? Like at the moment I'd rather just see him on his own. Like if that eventually comes back around, that would be great. But right now he needs to prove that he can still be on a big time promotion. And right now, if you rank them, AEW's the number 2 promotion.
Well, yeah.
And I can make a case for it, but TNA, which I guess I'll bring this up real quick. Where is it? So, and we all know this was speculation from the start, but there's also now that TNA is looking for a new TV deal, and that TKO discussed buying TNA. Now, before you had hopped on, me and BJ actually spoke about this, and I made kind of a point with what has happened with the entities that are TKO.
Right.
The idea that, you know, WWE is still its own company.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they have the TKO board now, so there's extra steps involved. But WWE
TKO is the parent company. WWE is a subsidiary. There's a lot of corporations that have subsidiaries set up the exact same way. So yeah.
And there have been changes for what they want it to be. You know, we've seen a lot more, as people will complain, advertisements, which we'll get into that a little bit when we talk about Saturday night's main event. But hypothetically, if TKO was to purchase TNA, I don't have a problem with it. For the reason being, it's not WWE themselves making the purchase. It's TKO.
Right.
And
as opposed to
And
Right, like
if you
WWE purchased at AAA, it would be TKO purchasing TNA as opposed to WWE, and they'd still have a side by side working relationship, which could potentially get even closer.
I mean, you would assume TKO's in on that decision still. Like, let's not get
Oh
it
yeah,
wrong, but it could be that WWE showed the interest more than TKO sitting there like, oh, look, we just want to buy up all these companies now. Because if you
yeah,
just look at the idea of WWE and UFC, they're their own companies.
right.
They
But
just have a
TKO is an umbrella corporation for fight sport, basically. So if adding TNA to their portfolio, they're basically making them the BlackRock of combat sport.
and you know what? I think they would stand as their own brand, and it would open us up to more crossovers between the brands.
Yeah.
To where now that it wouldn't be relegated to just say NXT. Now like, hey, what if we were to see AJ Styles from the main roster jump over, or let's see, somebody who's not Joe Hendry or Mustafa Ali jump back over and make an appearance on the main roster.
Sure.
Just
Cedric Alexander.
we'll bring back the two former cruiserweight champions.
Well, they've
But
got
yeah,
a match
just
coming up
something.
in TNA anyway, so
I just thought that was, since we were talking about, which TNA, another amazing show this week. They had another good show this week.
Yeah, Impact, another fun show. I am really enjoying TNA, especially my time without WWE these past few weeks. TNA has really stepped up and filled that void quite nicely. More so than AEW even, I'd say.
But all right, gentlemen, what would you like to talk about next? The Great American Bash or Saturday night's main event?
Let's kick it off with the Great American Bash, go in chronological order.
All right.
Sure, anyway, get it out of the way.
There we go.
This was a good show. Like, I'm not saying it was all in, but if I'm just looking at an afternoon PLE happening, very solid show. Like, anybody who thought that this was going to be better than All In, absolutely wrong. And I'll say that. But I'm not saying it was a bad show, neither.
It was never going to be better than All In because that's AEW's WrestleMania.
Listen,
they're going to put everything they can into it.
You know who's the only people saying shit like that? Stupid Mark.
There you are. Tell him, Tommy and JP.
But yeah, this was a really good show. It wasn't All In by any means, but it was a good show. They kicked the show off with Javon Evans versus Jasper Troy.
Ooh, interesting.
It was a good opener match.
Big
with
clash of styles
Evans.
there.
Yeah, with Javon Evans defeating Jasper Troy.
Whoa, interesting. Okay. Bouncy goes over.
Yeah. Then we had the Women's North American Championship match. Sol Ruca defending against Izzy Dame, which this match almost kicked off with Sol Ruca losing. Izzy Dame hits that like spine buster, sit down power bomb, whatever it is. And the referee was outside the ring dealing with Tatum Paxley.
Okay.
And Zarya. And he turned around 1-2 and Sol Ruca got her foot on the rope. But that was...
I'll tell you what, taking it back to Friday and watching Sol Ruca in that match, I haven't really seen too much of her. I don't really catch NXT often. I am impressed. She's got some ability, especially that finisher. What does she call it? The Soul Snatcher or something like that?
Soul Snatcher.
Ooh. Man, she's got some talent. That's all. Go on.
All I'm going to say is, to respond to that, is she watched Randy Orton RKO Evan Bourne, and she's like, how can I be the one flipping and still deliver the cutter?
Right.
Right. All right, so we all picked Izzy Dame to win that one.
Yeah, so Ruca ended up retaining.
Yeah, so we were all incorrect.
Yep. Next was the Men's North American Championship match.
Okay.
Falls count anywhere.
Yeah, we actually didn't have picks for that.
because the match wasn't made official yet until this past week, where that Ricky Saints had to run through the Vanity Project, who's been with Ethan Page recently in a gauntlet match.
Got it.
Where if he won, he got the title match and got to pick the stipulation, which became Falls Count Anywhere. And boy, these boys went out there and put on a show.
Nice.
They really did. But in the end, Ethan Page retained.
All right. So does that say more about where Ethan Page is or where Ricky Saints needs to get to?
I don't think it really speaks to either. So I think Ricky Saints could move on into the NXT title picture and be just fine. You could call him up and he'd be just fine.
Okay.
I don't think Ricky Saints needs the championship. I don't think Ethan Page needs the championship. But as long as they're feuding for it and eventually somebody pops in to get in the middle of that, whoever that person beats, it puts them over.
Yes.
So,
That works.
Ethan Page is being the typical heel.
Mm-hmm.
In the situation. There were a lot of nasty spots in that match, though, too.
Okay.
Like, I wouldn't be surprised if both these guys aren't banged up after that match.
You would expect that.
After that, we got the contract signing for Slammiversary for the TNA Championship.
All right, so for this one, we picked who would be the last person standing at the end of the contract signing. Danger Ginger, you picked Santana, and BJ and I both picked Trick Williams. Were any of us right?
Well, Trick Williams got put through a table, and Joe Hendry and Mike Santana were both standing, arguing with each other because it ends with, well, we don't agree on a lot, but we do agree on two things. One, you talk too much.
And two, no, there's one, blah, 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 blah. And two, you talk too much.
And then they just started beating him up and put him through the table. And Joe Hendry picks up the championship, and they're just talking trash back and forth to each other.
Okay. It was very well executed. Like, Trick just kind of turned around right into a super kick. Perfect timing.
Perfect.
But something else did come out of this.
What's
this
that?
Tuesday because after this, and they're standing tall, because now the contract signing has ended. We've gone through all that. Dark State comes out and attacks Santana and Hendry. And a little bit later on in the show, we clip to the back, and Trick Williams comes up to Ava all mad saying that, it's a conspiracy between them two to get the championship off of them, And she's like, well, you know what? It's kind of funny you say that because Dark State didn't attack you.
Yeah,
Even
right.
though to make it clear, in the past, Dark State has attacked Trick Williams.
They have, yes.
But I also have said in the past that I still feel like there's somebody else we don't know about. Or somebody else could be in league with them, and it could be Trick Williams.
Yeah.
So I think there is something there or at least he's contracted them to assist him currently.
Yeah.
But this Tuesday, Joe Hendry, Mike Santana, and Joe Hendry, or Trick Williams, whatever, I know I forgot what, will be facing Dark State in a 6-man tag.
All right.
Oh yeah, I know it was just something I just brought it back up, but
I think we can agree on that at this point.
Yeah, no, all in. Even though it's a marathon to watch, was the better show this weekend. It was their WrestleMania, So
would you say they won a 2-on-1 handicap match this weekend?
Well, 3-on-1.
Well, you haven't had the third one yet.
Third one.
Like I said, AEW amazing show is exactly what I expected. It was their WrestleMania, so they should have had the bigger show. Captain Heel, how you doing? But yeah, AEW was the better show by far.
It was like putting a Super Bowl up against an All-Star weekend.
Yeah, there you go. Good analogy.
Yeah, like Great American
main event had for me. was like an all-star game.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah,
my only
makes sense.
issue is that the whole thing of running up against AEW isn't a full WWE decision.
Hmm.
That's a TKO decision.
Yeah.
Like their board wants to run up against. Like if you're going, and I'm going to say this, and I'm point blank about this. If you want to run up against another company's big show, don't put your developmental or your the brand you consider number 3 up against them. Run
Yeah.
an actual PLE.
Yeah, you put your
Yeah.
best product up against the competition.
Yep.
Yeah, like, and again, as I said, Great American Bash was a good show. It was not a bad show by any means, but if you're going to sit there and put it to the measuring stick with Saturday Night Main Event against All In still wins.
Yep. It's all about putting butts in seats.
And this is a weekend where I will say it, and I said it a couple times last week. This is a case where the fans are the winners. Us marks are the winners in this. Because we get to see good wrestling regardless of the brand across the board.
Yep.
And even after we go off the air, we get to watch even more great wrestling tonight.
Yeah. Moving on though with NXT now. So during their pre-show, their kickoff show,
Mhm.
Stax was doing a promo talking about everything.
Right.
And he had his Heritage Cup there. Somebody stole the Heritage Cup during it. So now we fast forward to the show. We get a video package with Tony D'Angelo going through the history of the D'Angelo family, how he brought them all in and everything, how he can't trust any of them. And then,
Right.
and these have always been favorite moments of mine, regardless if it's been Austin doing it, The Rock doing it, or anybody else. It's when somebody takes a championship belt and just throws it off a bridge into the water. And at the end of this video package, we get Tony D'Angelo with the stolen Heritage Cup, and he just chucks it off a bridge into the water.
Bye-bye Heritage Cup.
Which this week on NXT, we get a triple threat match with Lucifino, Stax, and D'Angelo.
Yeah, we had speculated on this when we had it on the Great American Bash picks. So we have 2 picks for Stack and me and Danger Ginger,
Yeah.
and then BJ, you got Luca. Sticking with that one still?
Yeah.
You know
All
what?
right.
After the sit down they had this week, I can see Luca getting the win.
Luca cut like I'm doing this for me promo. I don't trust
like
for me.
It was like
Okay.
he's like, yo, I really don't care no more. Like I'm here to prove myself
All right.
that I am as worthy as you two. You know, that's how it kind of came off to me, and I'm okay with that.
Cool.
And then for the next match was for the NXT Championship. Oba Femi defending against Yoshiki Inamura. Yoshiki, no, Aishiki. The Shiki.
We'll just stick within a Murray. That's the easy way to do it.
Well, boy, I'm going to go back and rewatch this match in full. Same thing with the Falls Count Anywhere match.
Okay.
But
Slugfest. This match was just so hard hitting, just an absolute slugfest.
Yo, it absolutely was. I love the idea of how they're teasing the breakup with Inamura and Briggs. It seems they're teasing a heel turn for both of them.
It was just like it's like, I just want to win this match clean, and Briggs is just doing everything he can to try to help him cheat. And Inamura's like, I don't want any part of this. What are you doing?
Yeah, to the point where he hit him with the belt and hit the belt, and then
much appreciated.
Yes, much appreciated. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Where Briggs is like, yeah, go set up for the win, and he accidentally raises his hand holding the NXT title belt that he just hit Oba Femi with. And Inamura just wanted to straight up win it. Oba Femi ends up retaining. But this was a hard hitting match. Yeah. So after the match, before our main event, we get a moment where Obafemi's being interviewed,
Uh-huh.
and Inamura shows up and thanks him for the competition and for the challenge, and he apologizes for Briggs interfering in the match. And Femi says because of what Briggs did, he will grant him a future title shot.
That's cool.
But before anything could get fully agreed on, Briggs shows up and starts some trouble. So I could see somehow this turning into some type of weird triple threat match.
Yeah, sure.
Or something to where it's going to end up being Inamura and Briggs fighting for an NXT title shot. I think Briggs has what it takes to be on top of the division, one of these divisions with a championship. I think a little bit more character work might be needed to be believable, but for him to say, let's have a North American title run,
yeah,
he's in a perfect position for.
Yep. There you go.
I'm looking forward to the rematch, though, and I hope it's something where there is no interference, because if anything that we've seen out of these last couple guys who have faced Obafemi, not only has they looked good, they've all looked like legit competitors. You know, I feel like Tony D'Angelo wouldn't be where he is if Obafemi hadn't put him over. And then vice versa, they continued that feud and had an NXT title match that Obafemi barely retained it. But yeah, then we get to our main event of the Great American Bash, where at this point, I think we're at Okada and Omega. Oh, no. Or maybe the Women's Gauntlet, something like that.
Still somewhere in the middle of AEW.
Yeah. Blake Monroe, formerly known as Mariah May, and Jordan Grace taking on Fatal Influence members, the NXT Women's Champion Jacy Jayne and Fallon Henley. Good match. I feel like the Obafemi match should have main event, but I get because of that promo why it didn't. And the Blake Monroe debut.
Yeah.
Now, specific Blake Monroe and Jordan Grace pick up the win in this match. With Blake Monroe pinning the NXT Women's Champion, Jacy Jayne.
Okay. So, yeah, let me see. Refer to here. Yep. Yeah, we had, yes, we all had this correct. I picked Grayson Monroe, but Danger Ginger picked Glamorous Muscle, and BJ picked the Fresh Faces. So we were all correct, no matter what we called it.
I retool it to Glamour Muscle.
Glamour Muscles. Okay, yeah, okay. I like that. That's a good team name if they ever do this again.
Yeah, and this was a good match. Like, all four ladies look good, and it was a great way to preview tonight.
Right. Yeah,
which we will be talking about soon. I know it might seem like we're rushing through things a little bit and not being as in depth, but we have a lot of shows and a hard out at 7:00 to be able to watch Evolution.
We're actually making a really good time. We're only just about where we would be taking the break.
Yep. Which, speaking of, real quick, Pro Wrestling Star Academy.
Yes.
You know, if you live in the New Jersey, Philadelphia, maybe even Delaware area, you know.
If you feel like driving to Mount Holly.
Yeah, pretty much. I got a couple.
Oh, what? The song's over?
Yeah, we just got our copyright notice.
Dang it.
Well, guys,
can't copyright what's in here.
it's been nice doing these last 33 and plus special episodes with you guys. It seems like we have officially been canceled. But
Yeah.
if you're not going to, but check out Wyatt Wrestling Club. Follow them on here on YouTube and on Instagram at Wyatt_wrestling. Oh yeah, I can best move that stuff over here.
I don't know. I kind of like BJ just kind of poking his head out around the side there.
Rick Blade is disappointed in that comment.
Yeah. We're still proving ourselves to him again. That we have to build ourselves up in his eyes again. It's our own damn fault though. We really
but we didn't but we lit the fire under his ass, and I stand by that. We did the right thing.
Yes, but still, Rick, I will never stop apologizing. Yeah, well, I don't want to feel that look.
Well, just real quick, since we're also talking about the school, some of the trainers you will be trained by at the school. One, Robbie Illuminati from Blackout. Gabby Gilbert. One of our favorites, Pat Dynamite.
Yeah.
And the head trainer, original backseat boy, Johnny Cashmere. Oh, speaking of the backseats, just a real quick little side story while there's dogs outside going nuts.
Sure.
And mine just sleeping through it, thank God. Mr. Chef the Ref here. We're doing a trivia thing at work the other day, all right?
Oh, yes.
And it was a boy band. That was the clip of the song that had the guess.
Yeah.
And instead of saying the Backstreet Boys, he turns around and is like, Backseat. He's like, the Backseat Boys. I just stopped looking at him like, whoa, you're wrong.
You know what you said?
Yeah, do you know what you just said?
Oh, I never made that connection that those two are similar. Wow.
I'm going to have to make a Rick Blade disappointed in you graphic.
I think we already have it.
Well, no, I got to remove him from this and actually...
just like a sticker version of it.
Look, you made the puppy mad.
Khaleesi,
dude,
breathe fire.
Just real quick, like, that is almost so accurate. Like, credit to the chat GPT.
That makes her look way meaner than she is, though. Like,
but it's anime. So she needs to
that's
look
fair.
mean.
Milky.
Oh, Ryan Milky. How are you doing, brother?
Seems like all our viewers are across the pond tonight.
Yeah.
Hey, man, we appreciate it. And guys, just remember, regardless of where you are, this is a Bruce band.
Yes. Woo.
But yeah, we still have one more show to talk about.
We do.
And that is Saturday night main event. And boy, my mouse just fell, but okay.
That's worse than spilling your beer.
At least I didn't spill my Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, you'd be sticky.
That's sticky. That's a sticky
Sticky,
situation.
icky, yo. So, kicking off the show for Saturday night's main event was Randy Orton and Drew McIntyre.
I hear voices in my head. Go.
I heard about the whole cluster of fun that this whole match turned into and what it's leading to at SummerSlam.
Yeah, so Randy Orton beats Drew. And then after the match... Now, number one, let's make this clear. Jelly Roll is in Randy Orton's corner. Mm-hmm. Logan Paul's coming out with Drew McIntyre.
Yeah,
Drew McIntyre. Look, listen.
Yeah.
I don't ever do this, but I'm doing this. Drew McIntyre.
Where's your rank
do
graphic?
Better than Logan Paul. All right? Seriously. Logan Paul, you're better than that.
Actually, he gained a lot of respect, in my opinion, on Friday. Every word he said was true. Like, he Jelly Roll has no business being in a WWE ring. You know, he's an entertainer. He's not a fighter. And
that's why he got jelly rolled up by him, right?
He got attacked by a guy he didn't think was a threat, you know?
Yeah, well, you know what? Just for that, you go to catering.
He can eat jelly rolls.
Everything Logan told
You
us
know,
to.
you know though, but we had speculated about this, and I had already said that somehow Jelly Rolls they're going to get Jelly Roll on that SummerSlam card, and they did.
No, I hope he bones.
You know, but that Claymore he took from Drew.
I
Yeah, I
hope he
saw a still shot of it.
Yeah.
makes larynx and can never sing again.
That's harsh, man.
But yeah, after that happened, they did make it official before the end of the show that it will
Yeah.
be Randy Orton and Jelly Roll versus Drew McIntyre and Logan Paul at SummerSlam here in New Jersey at
Yeah.
MetLife.
Yeah, that's almost boycott worthy. Not quite.
Not
I've been out of watching WWE for a month. Goldberg was enough to boycott over. I'll suffer through Logan
So
Paul
and then
Jelly
we get
Roll.
and then we get an interesting moment during the show as well. Like they're showing all like the people sitting at ringside. They show like DDP, Io Sky, Doug Dillinger, the head of security from WCW, who I will be bringing up again later.
He always
And then they show Jay
out.
Yeah. And then they show Jay Cargill, who was then attacked by Naomi.
That was
And so now they're fighting. And they're fighting all over ringside.
Your match just starts right then.
No.
Basically.
You get Nick Aldis coming out. And you finally get them split up just long enough for him to say this. And he's like, you know what? I was going to talk to both of you about this in the back, but since you want to do this here and now and not stop fighting, Nick Aldis announces Bianca Belair as the special guest referee, which has me yelling at my TV like, how dumb are you?
Well, we know how much.
Hold on, stop. Did we not? This has nothing to do with me being a fan of her or not. This has to do with the fact the last time I saw her as a special guest referee in a match, she once again.
I can't do this. That's my impersonation of Bianca Belair.
Yeah, like she did a horrible job at it.
Yeah.
Like, why would you make her a referee again? Which just makes me.
Maybe she's better now.
Which is just leading me to think that she's facing one of these two at SummerSlam now.
Or a triple threat.
Well, no, because Jade has the title shot at SummerSlam. So she would probably face Naomi at SummerSlam. Unless, I'm just throwing this out there, Bianca Belair turns heel and joins Naomi.
Like, while Bianca was out, she saw the light that Naomi was trying to show her about Jade somehow.
Yeah. Or anything. Yeah. Like, Bianca Belair could just be jealous that Jade's the star.
Maybe.
You know, like she's old news now. Jade's new news. And she doesn't need a giant braid to use as a weapon to beat people.
If she's a heel, then that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And then, so after that, we move on to the men's United States Championship match with Solo Sikoa against Jimmy Uso. Yeah, it was pretty routine, the match itself. It's exactly what you would have expected. You know, this match was added last minute. I think it was added right before SmackDown.
Right, yeah, we didn't actually speculate on this one.
Yeah, because we had the idea that a match could come up, but we kind of figured it might be Jacob.
Right.
But, so Solo retains. They go to take out Jimmy, and then Jacob Fatu returns to make the save. So it looks like we have a little something brewing here at this point.
Yep.
Now we also know this group is now with Solos, not the Bloodline or Bloodline 2.0. They are MFT, My Family Tree.
Okay, sure.
Which I'm okay with because it does move us away somewhat from the whole Bloodline thing, and you're not mentioning the name no more. That has become kind of iconic. 3-4 year span of it in itself. Even maybe the point you could call that part, those couple years, the Bloodline era.
But we also now have a words three words to associate with MFT. Remember when Solo started saying that when he brought in Tama Tonga all that time
Yeah.
ago? Yeah, so now we have words to go along with it.
Yeah. Now, the next match was LA Knight versus Seth freaking Rollins.
This match did not go over according to plan.
No, and these guys were having a pretty good match. And so for anybody, just in case you didn't see it and you're watching us, Seth Rollins did like the rebound moonsault off the rope. Knight ducked it. I guess the spot he was supposed to jump over Knight anyway, like he usually does. We've seen it in other matches.
A million times.
And he landed cleanly, but at the same time, he went down instantly, grabbing his leg. He gets into the corner. You see the ref go check him, and they really did something they don't normally do. They actually left the cameras on it, which usually tells us, oh, they're showing us this. So, usually that's a cue that it's not legitimate. But this is a legit injury that actually impacted the last 40 minutes of the show, roughly. Now, we also do know there was no plan for Seth Rollins to cash in on Saturday night's main event, which I will stand by. There should have been, because of how we've talked about the lackluster of the show, of creating a moment. But I felt like this show, maybe this Saturday night's main event didn't need it because of Goldberg. Like maybe because it's there to have that as the main event and everything. Like I guess you don't want to take away from somebody's final match, regardless if we're fans or not. Whatever. Yeah. But Seth Rollins ends up, and you could see they didn't even take a clear shot of the referee's switch to be able to talk to the people in the back, in Gorilla. Okay. Like they made an obvious shot of her hitting that switch.
Okay.
Robinson took another huge bump.
Oh, we'll talk about that for the Goldberg match. Which, by the way, props to him just for that. But we see the doctor eventually come out and they're talking. And next thing we see is Seth Rollins stand up. And Knight gives him the BFT. Pins him 1, 2, 3. Knight immediately rolls out of the ring. And you could see he's not happy with the ending. Mm-hmm. Whatever they had planned, he must have thought, because we have to really assume that LA Knight was supposed to lose, right?
That's every report I've seen.
Yeah. I mean, even if it's not true, you would just, without seeing that, you would think like, all right, he was probably supposed to lose anyway. So it's a good win for him that they can build something off of. But Seth Rollins going down, which is impacting multiple storylines at once. Mm-hmm. Because even if he wasn't planned to cash in, I still have this thing like maybe he was going to appear at the end of the show, just teasing the briefcase, like, hey, don't forget. Because let's look at I guess we'll get there, but hopefully Rollins, this isn't a serious injury.
Yeah.
But if it is, this is a case to where I was saying something to you guys that I would love to see happen. If he's not going to be out past the expiration date of the contract, let him keep the contract. Hell, to the point, keep it off TV. I don't want to see the briefcase. I don't want to hear it.
Let people forget about it.
Yeah.
It would be the same as hot-shotting it. Not hot-shotting it, but it would be the same as like a quick cash in and it's gone for the year.
Right.
That time it's like, forget about it. It gives you some time to like,
And now you guys already know where I'm going with it.
Mm-hmm.
With the idea that, let's say he's out for 6 months, right? That puts us to the Royal Rumble.
Yep.
Roughly around Royal Rumble Elimination Chamber time. Now let's incredibly say this now as an example. Cena does leave with the championship. We have to crown a new WWE champion.
Okay.
Let's say that match happens. Or let's say they do it in the men's rumble to crown the champion, something we speculated about right after WrestleMania this past year.
Yep.
And that match happens, you get your winner, and Seth Rollins returns with a cash in. Like, we don't get no mention of him.
Yep.
because it's the
And
moment.
just the music hits, all of a sudden he comes out with the briefcase.
Maybe a lights out.
Oh,
Yeah.
like a lights out moment. He's just something. AEW does those really well when they don't overplay it. The lights out
Yeah.
person standing in the ring.
Besides the Wyatts, there hasn't been a good one in WWE for a long time that I can remember.
Besides maybe Undertaker, right?
Right,
Or
yeah.
Sting was in like a box or something. That wasn't a lights out one.
In a box.
Sting in the box.
There's
Oh,
one
it
box
was supposed to be a statue. It was supposed to be the statue for like Vince or Triple H or something, and it was Sting under Sting standing there the entire time. But yeah, it's a shame that Seth Rollins went down because it does impact a lot of future storylines. It impacts the storyline with Punk. It involves the storyline with his group. It involves Gunther and the world title picture. Now, go ahead.
On that note, with his group, I mean, on the positive side, it'll definitely give Braun and Braun a little more spotlight, a little more time to like show what they can do as a unit.
Yeah, and it's already looking like they were gearing toward that.
Yeah.
Especially with their promos from this past week.
Yep.
I was just about to say something about that. Ryan in the chat. Seth looked really annoyed on the walk up the ramp.
I would be too.
Not just that. So Green Shirt was at ringside. If anybody knows who I'm referring to,
Oh yeah,
Green Shirt guy. And I follow him on Instagram, and I saw a video that he posted, and it was after the match. They'd gone to commercial. The lights were down in the arena, and they're helping him out, and Seth Rollins is not happy. He is limping, and he is saying the F word over and over. Like he was visibly upset the entire time, and so hopefully this is more of a tweak than a full-blown injury, because it kind of sucks that on the same day that we've seen two of probably the best wrestlers, not the top wrestler, but two of the generally considered best wrestlers in the world, Adam Cole and Seth Rollins, go down in two different companies the same day.
Not to mention a couple weeks after Liv Morgan, who's one of the better women's wrestlers out there.
And she's really worked on her stuff too. And hers was a real freak accident. This was a freak accident. It wasn't something to where because it's the idea that there's probably some mark out there, although that's somehow LA Knight's fault. No, he landed wrong. But anybody that watched sports knows what a non-contact injury looks like. And me as a Cowboys fan, most recently in the last couple of years, Dak Prescott, non-contact injury.
I remember back, it had to have been like 05 or 06. I was watching McNabb run to the sideline, and I was like, oh, ACL, MCL.
Yep.
Spotted that just the way he pulled up, and, you know. Yeah.
All right.
Watching sports enough, you know when something doesn't.
Yeah.
But yeah, it seems like this month, it gets across the board with wrestling between the 4th of July GCW show and recently the past month. There have been a lot of injuries. That GCW show had 7 injuries on it.
Yeah.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, get well soon to everyone on that show, Tommy included.
And his was just a bad landing because they hit the acid reflux and his legs hit the ground too soon.
Yeah.
Kind of like how Edge came off that ladder or that cage in AEW.
Yep.
But let's move on to Chefs. The match Chef has been waiting for.
Yes, I've been waiting for this match to be over so I can start watching WWE again.
Gunther defending the World Heavyweight Championship against Goldberg. Now, just real quick to get into a couple things.
Yeah.
I did feel like this match started off a bit earlier in the show than it should have, probably because of the LA Knight and Seth Rollins match having to be cut short. There was a lot of, you could see them purposely having to stretch things out now.
For Goldberg, that's a tall order, I'm sure.
It took like half an hour to walk to the ring.
Okay, well, yeah, okay. He got a nice stroll out of it too.
I'm just saying, like Gunther walked fast to the ring too. Like
Yeah.
he didn't do his usual casual walk. He kind of walked a bit faster to the ring, which was
Okay, with
considering
purpose.
everything else, he probably had the time to actually walk to the ring
Yeah,
and not
yeah,
high
but
step it to the ring.
yeah, he wanted
But
to end Goldberg quick.
because of that stuff, because I think that the LA Knight Seth Rollins match probably had another commercial break built into it.
hmm
You know, out of the whole show, that was the worst part of ads. To where us included of other fans, I know Ryan Milky's one of them as well. To where the complaints of the past Saturday night main event shows having too many commercials. This one didn't come off to me like that. And it also could have been the idea that most of the wrestling I watched today was also commercial free.
Yeah.
So and usually it doesn't bother me, but it really caught my attention throughout the whole last main event segment. And props to Goldberg, his match was over 10 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
You know,
How many
he went
matches
like
have he had like that?
4.5 times what his normal matches. There's a spot where there's a through the barricade timekeeper spot, which was really good. The match had its moments. Like there's a spot in the beginning of the match where Gunther chops Goldberg, and Goldberg just smiles and laughs. It was funny. Like the match itself was not horrible. It was what you would expect.
Okay.
You know, like Goldberg was aged. He wasn't going like he was 25 years ago or whatever in WCW. Fine.
Yeah.
I mean, to my surprise, was more the ending of the match that Gunther tapped out Goldberg. Or he didn't necessarily tap him out, but he beat him by submission.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, good on Gunther. He retired Goldberg. He got a win over a strong competitor. So yeah, is what it is. It was what it was. It's what we expected it to be.
But
So.
I mean, like this wise of them having to stretch out time. I understood why there were so many commercials at the end of that. Like, because they really had to stretch that time out now to get to the close. Otherwise, you're going to end the show a bit later with no plan.
Well, did they really need to stretch the match out though? Because I mean, they still cut off Goldberg's retirement address at the end of it.
I think they ended up getting done a little bit early, and that really wasn't supposed to be seen. Because after the match, the way it cuts to commercial with like 3 minutes to go in the show was kind of weird. To where it felt like that was more meant for the fans.
Okay.
And maybe we were going to get it with all of them standing in the ring congratulating him. But yeah, just some faces that were seen during the Goldberg entrance. Josh Barnett.
Okay.
Ernest the Cat Miller. Doug Dillinger, who was seen in the crowd earlier in the show. Yeah, I mentioned DDP earlier. Was escorting Goldberg to the ring one last time. And it's funny, I'm watching the show. I'm like, they have him there. They better have him escort Goldberg to the ring for his last match. Like, and this was one of those. I do agree with that. I kind of would. If it was any match, I would put him on commentary for. It would have been LA Knight and Seth Rollins. I think that would have been the match I would have had him on commentary for. You know, I think after the last time he was on commentary, they wanted to give him a break from being on commentary. Like, come on, man.
Walk out come on.
Yeah, he gets bonkers on commentary.
So, to revisit real quick, because some other people have come into the chat since then, we did have a trivia question earlier in the show.
Yes.
Now, as I said, Gunther had choked out Goldberg to win this match and retain the World Heavyweight Championship. Only one other wrestler has ever beaten Goldberg by submission. I will give another 15 minutes before we revisit this. So, if you have a guess, wait, and hey, when I bring it back up,
the end of the show. Yep. Well,
I have a guess, but I know it's wrong.
All right, go with your wrong guess.
All right, maybe I will.
I mean, I won't give the answer yet, but you can give your guess if you want.
No, I'll hold on to that one.
All right.
Just real quick, other things now since we've talked about the well, real quick, what's the speculation if they have to take the briefcase off Rollins? How do we hold an impromptu Money in the Bank ladder match at SummerSlam?
I would hope so.
Yeah, I would say that Paul Heyman works a way where he gets control of the briefcase, potentially using it to get Breaker and Reed a tag belt shot.
No,
No, you don't like that one.
no, just no. No, 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 no. Why would you cash in for a tag team title shot? What you want?
Catering, really? For that, I go get catering.
You want to take a briefcase for this? Isn't if you want a briefcase
It's for any
for
belt. Yeah, it's for any
Why
belt.
would you
Tag
cash
team
in for
belts got prestige
nowhere?
to it.
Nowhere's in that contract does it say you can cash in for a tag team championship match.
It says any belt. Tag team belts are belts. Any championship. Why not the tag belts? You really don't like that
Can
one.
you, Ryan, elaborate a little bit more on your question? Because we're pretty far off from Elimination Chamber currently.
Yeah, that's what, March, April?
Yeah,
February, March.
Yeah, February between Rumble and Mania.
Right.
You know what? But how do you pick? Do you take the original entrants who were in the original Money in the Bank ladder match?
Question.
Roman.
Well, you will find out soon, my friend. You will find out soon. Do you take the other original competitors from the if you were to have another Money in the Bank ladder match to establish a new holder? Do you take those who were in the original match and put them in this one and then fill the final spot with somebody else? Maybe.
Yeah, sure. You throw Braun Breaker in that final slot.
Yeah, have a tournament.
No, I don't think a tournament's the right way to go. You know what? I would be okay with a over the top rope battle. You know what? How about this? I have an idea. You open it up to the entire men's roster, and you just hold some type of over the top rope battle royal. Do something simple where everybody gets an opportunity at it. And you know what? Even though he would fail to cash it in, you know how awesome it would be to see R-Truth get that briefcase and start chasing Cena down to cash it in.
Yeah, that could be fun.
By the way, R-Truth was involved with my segment of the week this week. Not my match of the week, but my segment of the week. That whole thing with him, Priest, and Aleister Black was just absolutely fantastic.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
Great stuff all around. R-Truth
I'll have to go back and watch that.
Yeah, just a really good match from Black and Truth, and a great follow-up segment.
Yeah, I agree with that. So real quick now,
I'll just give a segment of the week real quick. Not match of the week to match. TNA Order 4, the whole segment where they had with Tasha Steelz regulating everybody,
and then turning on Cedric. That was great. All right, real quick. Oh yes, we all. I don't think BJ's seen it yet. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, we did mention that earlier.
My moment in any match, honestly, my moment for any match is tied with the Hidden Blade drive-by double team maneuver from Swerve and Ospreay, and then the
Tony Mercedes.
Tony Storm getting the munchies during their match. That's how I will phrase that.
Sure, that works.
She gave her a nice, good, wet kiss on the lips.
Put me in catering, dude.
Okay. So, I'm sorry. I actually have to bring you back from catering.
That's fair.
We are now going to revisit real quick Evolution tonight because there have been some updated matches. now. And that will be happening in the next half hour as that pre-show is currently going.
All right. So yeah, we have the battle royal that's going to be happening. So,
And we now know who is in that battle royal partially.
all right. So
And I still stick with Lash
you're
Legend.
sticking with Lash. BJ, you sticking with Nia Jax? BJ?
Yeah.
You there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right, and I will stick with Stephanie Vicaire.
I do think she's a solid pick. Unfortunately, we're all wrong, and it's going to be Nikki Bella.
No, we're all wrong. It's going to be Saraya.
Oh
She's
no,
coming
we're
back
truly
officially?
no. We're all going to be truly wrong, and it's going to be AJ Lee going to Paris, getting a shot at the women's championship.
Light it up.
Let's light it up. Let's go.
All
Nikki-
right, so JCJ and Jordan Grace. What was our picks for that again?
You are the only one picking JC Jane there, and BJ and I both have Jordan Grace.
So if anybody wants to change a pick, this is the time to do it.
No.
You know what? I'm changing mine to Jordan.
All right. That's why you said now's the time to change, because you wanted to change yours.
That was AJ Styles, not AJ Lee, Mr. Milky Sir.
All right. So we've all now have Jordan Grace winning the NXT Women's Belt. We have the no holds barred match between Jade and Naomi, which will be now refereed by Bianca. Yes. So I got Jade. We all have Jade. Now with Bianca's insertion as the special ref, I'm thinking Naomi. I'm changing my pick to Naomi.
I'm sticking with Jade, with Bianca turning on her after the match.
Okay.
I think there's something BJ? To this.
Who was my pick?
We all had Jade originally.
I'll stick with Jade.
All right, so both of you are sticking. I'm the only one changing.
So now, this is one of the matches that we did picks for that we didn't know the full get up for it yet, and that's the Fatal 4-Way for the WWE Women's Tag Team Championships. Yep. With Raquel and Roxanne Perez defending against Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss, which I believe myself and BJ picked.
No, we all picked Raquel and Roxanne. I have it written down right here. We all picked
you wrote mine down. I'm pretty sure I picked Alexa Bliss and Charlotte.
I have written down here all three of us, Raquel and Roxanne.
I mean, we might have to go review the footage after this.
But, okay, it's changing picks time anyway, so.
Let's go
through the competitors in this.
Yeah. And then during the week, we had the Kabuki Warriors, who Chef the Ref kind of speculated on, and then Sol Ruka and Zarya. Okay. So every brand has a representation in this match as challengers.
I like it.
Who you guys got?
I'm sticking with Raquel and Roxy.
Same.
You know what? I'm in agreement at this point, and the reason being
is change, non-change.
No, so here's why. No, but here's why I agree. Is because there was a nice video on Instagram this week from Finn Balor, and they had both sets of tag team championships and the Intercontinental title sitting on a table, and all the belts. He had just finished polishing all the belts.
Okay.
So I thought that was really cool, and I'd like to see this run a little bit more.
Yeah.
Like seeing Judgment Day actually fully being successful without Liv there.
Yeah, and Roxy just keeps taking a little bit more of what Liv has every day.
Let's see. Here in the chat, we have Ryan thinking Bianca screws Naomi. I think Bianca calls it down the middle and then turns at the
afterwards.
End. Yeah, and Asuka turns heel. Wow, you have 2 turns in one show of heel turns. Jesus. Worldwide heel entertainment.
All right. So, what do we know? Which one is next on the card, or shall we just proceed down with what I have written?
We could go with what you have written.
All right. I've got Becky, Bailey, and Lyra in a three-way for the Intercontinental belt. So we've got two of us picking Becky, one of us picking Lyra. You can guess who all of those picks were made by if you know us.
All right. Well, just for those who don't know,
BJ
us,
is the only one who picked Lyra. He's the only one saying "woo."
So, just real quick, Lyra, I have a little bit of a criticism on Lyra. Nothing about her in the ring or anything. And I actually ran this by BJ earlier when we first hopped on stream before going live. And something with the way she cuts her promos.
Okay.
She always looks kind of slouched a little bit. She's not standing tall when she stands tall at the end of everything, but when she's speaking, she's kind of slouched. You know, it just doesn't come off as believable to me. Like, she says the right things and does the right things. It's just she's always seems kind of slouched and not with that pride she should have of being the first women's Intercontinental champion. Of having that pride of that, you know. Like, it just doesn't come off as believable to me. To whereas Becky now just has a cadence that BJ absolutely hates in the way she cuts her promos. But at least she stands tall. But she stands
loud breaths.
Yeah, you know, Bailey, she stands tall when she cuts her promos. You know, just a little critique, that's all. Nothing against Lyra at all. But
you know, are any of us changing picks on that match? I'm not. I'm sticking with Becky to retain.
I kind of want to go with Bailey, but I'm probably going to stick with Becky.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Wanted to switch to Bailey, but yeah, I'll stick with Lyra.
Because I think we're going to see a situation to where the hatred between Lyra and Bailey is going to boil over, and Becky's going to take advantage of it to win the match.
Yeah, that could happen, but I do feel like Bailey is just kind of there as the very, very good enhancement talent to make the other two look good in their feud. So,
but I just think it's a good way to get Bailey and Lyra out of that title scene temporarily.
Yeah, sure.
And maybe something else gets worked up for Becky, and then we see Bailey and Lyra at SummerSlam, and maybe it's a number one contenders match, or just, you know, the winner of that match just is announced the next night as the number one contender or whatever, you know. Yep. However it works.
Yep.
I think there will definitely be a Lyra and Bailey feud, but it'll be for the belt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at some point down the line. At some point down the line, we know it's going to circle back around.
What do you mean?
Yeah.
What does Milky mean?
He means that Becky now has to really be the man and bring in the money for the family now.
Wait a minute, whoa. Are you trying to tell me Becky's not the man?
No, Becky is the man, but now she really is like double the man.
Whoa.
It's as half the man.
And moving on to what I now am pretty sure will be the main event tonight. We've
got two world championships yet to discuss.
Oh yeah, we saw. Oh yeah. Tiffy. Let's talk. I think Tiffy retains.
Tiff versus Trish.
Tiffy retains.
Yeah, we have Tiffany across the board. I'm not changing my pick.
Trish wins and goes on the longest women's title reign of all time. No, Tiffy wins.
All right, so yeah, we're all in agreement. Still Tiffy time.
And then the women's world championship match. Women's world champion Io Sky defending against the woman who she can't seem to lose to in Rhea Ripley. Does Rhea Ripley finally get the monkey off her back and win the women's world championship? I say yes.
Yeah, and so did I. And BJ, are you changing your answer from Io Sky to Rhea?
No, I think I'm going to stick with Io. It would be a nice feel-good moment, and I hate feel-good moments, so I'm going to stick with Io.
I think either one winning's a good feel good
Yeah,
moment. Yeah,
these are two
they're
good
both baby
fan
faces.
favorites.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're both even if they're not both baby faces, because let's be honest, there's no true heels in wrestling no more, and the closest to it maybe is MJF.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's definitely heels, but
No, but I mean the true heel, like the Iron Sheik back in the day. Like people who got booed and were never like there was no way you would ever cheer for that person. Like the old 80s and 90s true heels. Like people cheer heels now. Like there's nobody who's really truly hated no more. But
I just feel like it's more than children watching wrestling now. Like in the '80s, like wrestling was for kids. Like
And
back
the
when
weird adults.
back when those black and white characters were out there. You know what I mean?
all
It's
right,
become rated now.
so before we get to what just real quick also, because we don't have a lot of time to talk about it.
No, we do not.
We had a title change this week on SmackDown. The
We did.
Wyatt Six of Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis defeated the Street Profits to bring tag team gold to the Wyatts.
Good
I like it.
stuff.
Congratulations. I'm very anxious to see where this goes now, because now that tag team division's been put on notice. But I do still think there's been a lot of jumping of the titles, but I'm hoping that they gear it around to being more of the competition.
More Wyatts. Wyatts every week.
Guys, what's our match of the week?
That's a good question for me.
Yeah, give me a minute to look on the list.
You know what?
I was so distracted. I had so much going on. It was a fairly long and involved week for me, where I had a bunch of stuff going on outside of watching wrestling. So every time I was watching wrestling, I had other stuff going on. So I didn't really take notes or pick a match of the week this week.
Well, if you're in no decision, then that's on you.
Yeah,
That goes
referee has a no contest.
Well,
He's throwing it out.
all my choices essentially come from All-In
Okay.
this week. Like it was just like looking back over the card, I'm like, does the Swerve Ospreay beating the Young Bucks? That was an amazing match. Absolutely amazing front to back. But you know what? I did hint at this earlier, and part of me wants to pick Adam Page and Jon Moxley because that was a really amazing death match.
Mm-hmm.
And the amazing story told of the culmination of almost the last year of stuff with the Death Riders and everything. But you know what? I give my match of the week, and this will be shocking to anybody that knows me, Toni Storm and Mercedes Moné. Get my match of the week. Mercedes Moné has really stepped it up since she finally debuted last year. And I feel like she's finally finding that flow again she had in WWE.
There you go. Cool.
Let's go with yeah. Okay. Gonna go Wyatt 6, winning the tag team champions.
That's my moment. That's my moment.
No matter what happens tonight, it was the feel good moment of the week.
Well, we'll be talking about Evolution next week on the show.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Like I said, the Aleister Black and Ron Killings match and segment involving Damian Priest was amazing. I loved every second of it, but the match wasn't as good. Like the Wyatt 6 match was actually a great match, but at the end of that match, and I'm going to try to make this quick, but at the end of that match, so one of the Prophets and Gacy are in the ring. And Gacy's legal man. Prophet throws Gacy out of the ring. I think it's Tez. Loomis comes in and attacks Tez. So Gacy gets on the apron, and the ref is like, no, you can't come in the ring. Like, he's trying to get in the ring, and the ref is like, no. He was the legal man. And then, like, there's a hot tag to Gacy, and then the match ends. Not hot tag, but there's a tag to Gacy. They, hit the match ends. But Gacy was the legal man, and the ref wasn't letting him in the ring. Even though Loomis didn't tag, he was just standing there and just decided to enter after about 10 seconds of, like, it just being Montez in the ring. It was the weirdest thing.
Now, real quick, I
Yeah.
asked a trivia question throughout the show. Who, besides Gunther, has beaten Goldberg by submission? I did see earlier in the chat.
Yep.
Ryan Milky
Ryan.
guessed if it was Roman at the Elimination Chamber. No,
Let's hear
it is
BJ's
not
wrong
Roman
answer.
Reigns.
My wrong answer is Kurt Angle.
Oh, great answer, but he's one. Great answer, but he's only one of the few who ever beat Brock Lesnar by submission.
And that's what I realized. That's why I realized it was a wrong answer. But I was like, I'm going with it.
I like that. That's a good guess. That's actually a really good guess.
I am actually going to go with the guy who you just mentioned there, Brock Lesnar.
You are correct.
Okay. With the that arm thing he does.
And 2022, with the Kimura.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yes, I am sure, as I Googled it to confirm the answer and look it up so that I could use this trivia question today.
But you know what? It was Bret Hart.
Brock Lesnar.
And he did it for The Rock.
It was Hurricane Helms, actually.
No, it
back.
wasn't. Dude, you're right. Guys, you're right. I'm totally wrong. It was Gilbert.
Obviously.
Sorry,
disappointed in us all.
Won't happen.
I don't know if you can tell, but why do the Outrunners look like they're 2 packs of Newports?
The gear.
Man. They are feeling 80s right there. They are really feeling 80s.
Yeah, what a weekend of wrestling. I wish I could have talked more about the weekly shows,
Yeah, didn't have time for that. We had a lot of PLE stuff to talk about.
Try to bring it as often as I could.
Yeah, just real quick, just some of the the promotional stuff, because let's see, StreamYard's changed things. Guys, the man who runs it himself, Ryan Milky in the chat, Wrestle Realm. Go check them out. And we can't forget Bunching with Marlo as well. Give them a follow Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, Amazon, Wrestle Realm on YouTube. And as earlier I said, Wyatt Wrestling Club. You can follow them here on YouTube and on Instagram at Wyatt_wrestling.
All right.
I'm going to have to go back and look that up, because when I Googled it earlier, that match result did not come up. But it is possible that it was Roman. But I know Brock Lesnar
correction
also
next
did.
week.
Yeah, hey, if the internet failed me, it wouldn't be the first time.
Are you sure Kurt Angle didn't?
And then
Are we sure Brock Lesnar did?
CaseMatch.com, whole history of Goldberg.
And then don't forget Pro Wrestling Star Academy if you live in the Philly, Jersey area.
Yeah. New Jersey, that is, not Jersey on the other side of the pond.
And train with some of the greats, as Robbie Illuminati, Gabby Gilbert, one of our favorites and the current silver champion in SPO, Pat Dynamite, and head trainer, original backseat boy, Johnny Cashmere.
Mm-hmm.
Where if you want to set up your tryout, email him at johnny.cashmere@gmail.com. Set up your tryout today.
Yeah.
I guess I'll run these again real quick. Oh, wait.
If nothing else, you get a dance party.
Yeah, right. At least we're trying to be entertaining. I don't believe that he lost. I don't know. Google, when I looked it up, was like the only person who ever made Goldberg tap out up to that point without last night results. It said Brock Lesnar with the Kimura in 2022.
Now,
So
was
they
that
have
the Google
Goldberg-
AI that told you that?
No, I
'Cause-
actually directly Googled it myself.
Because that
But yeah,
Google AI
guys,
is freaking
let's
terrible.
see. What else do I have here? Well, I always have this
Oh, yeah, that's
because
always
we
there.
always enjoy this picture.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, what am I doing?
Hey, look at that guy.
And look at that guy.
They made me too.
And everybody, just real quick, if Bidget was strolling the whole time, moved it for one of the graphics, but go purchase some of that new Backseat Boys merchandise at Pro Wrestling Tees /
Or some of the classic
Amazing
stuff, too.
Grayson. Yeah. There could be some new merch up there at some point, But as I said earlier, he had successful surgery this week, so
Yeah.
Ankle, right?
now it's on the road to recovery.
Yep.
It was his ankle.
Yep.
So, everybody, thank you for tuning in this week. We're going to get out of here a couple minutes sooner so that we can get ready to watch Evolution. Which
that does bring up one thing here. Now, Goldberg is done. I did say I was just going to be safe, not watch Evolution, not watch Raw. Do we think Goldberg's like gone? Am I safe to watch Evolution? Maybe Raw tomorrow.
No, you mean you didn't hear the news? Goldberg's been inserted into the Trish Stratus Tiffany Stratton match.
Yeah, he's the guest ref. And he's
No. They turned it into a triple threat. Unless somebody misspelled Goldberg as Gilbert. I don't know.
Goldie.
Goldberg.
But
Just picturing him in like a wig.
Like Tootsie.
oh man.
Your GM of Raw and SmackDown.
But yes, everybody, thank you for tuning in this week. We will see y'all next week for another episode of DJ and DG Talk Wrestling. Be good to each other.
Everybody watching, I'm going to need you to visit www.freakkings.com. Check out all the merch. And before you do that, I'm going to need you to check out PJDG YouTube and Instagram. And while you're doing that, you won't have to remember the name, because you'll remember the face.